The Matrix Resurrection is a sequel to the original trilogy, the highly acclaimed The Matrix, the not so acclaimed Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, directed once again, but without her sister, by Lana Wachowski. This film is set 60 years after the events that occurred in the Matrix Revolutions. It follows Thomas Anderson, who is best known as Neo, who's living an ordinary life as a game developer who's created a massive series of games called, well, The Matrix. But things start to unravel for old Neo, and he realizes his life may not be what he thinks it is. Hi, I'm Josh, and welcome to my spoiler-free review of The Matrix Resurrections. I can't wait to let you know my opinions on this movie. They may differ from yours, so please be gentle, or don't. I can't control you. So, without further ado, let's jump into this review. First off, I'd like to state that I very much enjoyed the performances by all the new faces. Jonathan Groff replacing Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith. He plays it very tongue-in-cheek, and I think it hits well. I like Jonathan Groff as an actor anyway. If you haven't seen Mindhunter, he's awesome in Mindhunter. He's very good in this one as well. I really enjoyed his take on Agent Smith. Yahya Abdul-Mateen II as Morpheus. On my first viewing, I didn't initially like the way his Morpheus was portrayed. However, on subsequent viewings, I really did enjoy how they managed to keep Morpheus alive. Now, Lawrence Fishburne's character, no, it's technically different, and in some ways I understand you're not gonna be able to create the same magic of Morpheus in the trilogy as you did here. Lawrence Fishburne is just way too good of an actor. That doesn't take anything away from Yahya Abdul-Mateen. He was great in this movie, but Lawrence Fishburne made Morpheus iconic. Jessica Henwick played Bugs. She was in Sense8, I believe. She was good, but you know, the movie focused on her a lot less than it did Neo and Trinity, which is what this movie is about. Finally, the last one I'll talk about is Neil Patrick Harris as the analyst. He was awesome. I never expected Neil Patrick Harris to be a really good villain, and he played it very well. I thought it was great. And returning, last but not least, are Keanu Reeves and Carrie Ann Moss, and they portray respectively Neo and Trinity. They're great. Not much else to say here. You know what you're going to get when you get them two together. So the plot itself is something that's going to take a few viewings to really get. You really have to watch it. You can't just sit there, turn your brain off, and, you know, be like, oh, this is going to be an action movie. It's not an action movie. I will come right out and say it. It is not an action movie at all. It is very philosophical. Now, it could be considered pretentious. I didn't see it that way, but I understand why you can perceive it as pretentious. It's a lot to unpack in one sitting. That's where I'm like trying to go with this. And a lot is going to be missed. And I'll admit, I missed a ton in my first viewing of this movie. But when I went back and watched it, I really grasped the concept and the vision I think Lana Wachowski was trying to go for. Some things I didn't like. I think she hit a lot of things. She hit a lot of notes very in your face, like a fuck you to the people that told her that this movie had to be made. And I think that's why it works. It really does break down some of the absurdities that the Matrix represents, and its willingness to kind of tear it down and rebuild. That's impressive to me. I really dislike the comparison that some critics were making about this movie to The Last Jedi, a sequel that was very divided. It was, you loved it or you hated it. I'm on the side of loving The Last Jedi. I thought it was probably one of the best in the Star Wars universe. It actually took chances. It didn't stick to this formula that every Star Wars movie decides to do. I like that they take their franchises in new directions. So now I went through the positives here. There are a lot for me, but that doesn't mean there aren't negatives. Like I said, Lana Wachowski really does get a lot of things right in this movie, but my nostalgia glasses wore on. I loved some of the callbacks, but I could have done with less of them. And when I say this, There's specifically ones that are in the first act of this movie. It's just callback after callback after callback after callback. And while I understand the reasoning for it, it's hard to keep being invested in the movie. It's not branching out into its own separate entity. I think the second act drags into a point, and it really, really does struggle. I think it drags for a good 30 minutes. And I think the action sequences, while I think I understand why they were stiff and awkward, I think they were purposefully done that way because of who Thomas Anderson is in the movie. Now, that's kind of my take on it, but when you watch the Matrix movies, they very much revolutionized like some of the fighting scenes that were borrowed throughout the entire 2000s. But here they are sloppy. They're not great. The fight choreography is kind of jank, but I think I understand why. That's where I stand with the negatives of this movie. I don't have many, but I do have some. Now, this is only my third viewing of the movie, and my opinion does change a lot. So if I watch a movie, I'm gonna watch a movie 3, 4, 5 times to really grasp my concept of the movie if it's needed. Like if I'm watching like Hellfest or something like that, I really only need to watch it once to be like, oh yeah, killer kills things. There's no real like, underlying theme there. But with complex movies like this, Blade Runner 2049 is one of them. Arrival is another one. I think Prisoners is a very good example. I'm naming a lot of Denis Villeneuve movies, and I shouldn't do that, but there you go. This is my first spoiler-free review, so be gentle. Or don't. Again, I can't control you. I do think this movie does deserve a watch, but only if you've seen the first 3 movies. I think it deserves to be watched if you're a fan of The Matrix, and if you love The Matrix Online, I guess. It's not perfect. There are many faults, but I really did love this movie. I see the negativity. I understand the negativity. This is not the movie that you expected, but personally, I'm glad it's not the movie I expected. It's something more. It's something deeper. I think it tells a very beautiful story, and I really, really love the whole fuck you that Lana Wachowski does in this movie. The big middle finger to Warner Brothers. I really enjoyed it. I love the layers and layers of nuance. It really hits, and it works for me. But that does it for my review of The Matrix Resurrections. I gave it a score of watch it. Just watch it. Tell me what you think. If you hated it, and I'm sure a lot do. Let me know if you loved it. I hope a lot of you loved it. Let me know. Have a good day or night wherever you are. Peace.
After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.